Karlach is an absolute killing machine, a champion of Zerial, the archdevil ruler of Avernus. Karlach was an absolute terror in hell. She was a mighty force during the Blood War, and although Karlach relishes in her ability and skill in combat, especially when it comes to killing demons, she isn't just some heartless monster. She definitely has a soul, or a heart. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the story because I don't want to stray into the spoiler territory, but let's get into what the build's going to be about. She's a terror from hell, a great axe wielding berserker with an incredible amount of rage and power. She even has these great occurrences of rage and power that really upscale her power, and that's reflected into the game by soul coins. The primary build is going to be all about this: a berserker barbarian, a pure rage monster wielding a great axe, cutting down every single enemy in our path.
So how does this build play? One, you're a berserker, you're gonna rage, and you're gonna smash. It's that simple. The only intricacies to the build really are gonna be using soul coins, and the beautiful thing about soul coins, guys, is until long rest. So same thing with elixirs, you know, you get a good amount of soul coins throughout the game. I'm late Act 3. I still have 10 here. With that said, the other intricacy to the build, especially early in the game, a lot of people, you know, you need to utilize this, guys. It's very, very good. You generate fire and environmental effect, and then you just dip your weapon, right? It's too good, you know, early in the game, especially Act 1 and 2, and I'm going to show you the Act 1 and 2 weapons in the side of the video right here, but you can dip your weapon because the early game, you don't have the elemental die, you don't have that low appropriate flames from hell. You're not really the flaming hell being like you are, you know, right now when you get the Hellfire Great Axe in Act 3, and you just see how awesome that effect is. Talking about the gear, I'll show you in the spreadsheet why great axes are better for crit builds. Again, nothing's going to compare to this, but again, we're not power gaming, and if you have two marshals and you have one guts, you know, you want to be one guy using a greatsword, and you want to have Karlach be a traditional loreful berserker, then you can go this route. Now, for the crit variant that I'm showing you, we're going to use Sevarog's late Act 3. Pretty much early game, you can use the Dark Justiciars that reduces it when obscured, I believe. And you just want to lower the crit chance as much as possible. The dead shot does apply if it's just range. It doesn't just automatically mean the bow. So this does apply for your melee attacks too. And then from there, with crit builds, again, damage die are very good. This is a late game item, the Infernal Touch. But early game, you can use the Necrotic Gloves from Act 2. And you can use other sources that give you a die, because what happens is during the die, the crit doubles it, and you're just going to do more damage, and you have more potential damage. And with Savage Attacker, it helps with the rolls, right? Now, other than that, late game, we're going to be medium armor. This is probably the best medium armor in the game. I am not power gaming. If I was, then I would just focus purely on the elixir of Cloud Giant or Hill Giant for my strength gain, and then I would just go Dex Con to get as much AC as possible. But again, I'm not the power gaming person. The crit ring is very, very good for this build, obviously, so you can get more consistent crit flow and get more on-demand damage. It's very, very good. Besides that, just using the AC boots. The cape is another hiding when crit. I don't really use this. Pretty much the spell save one or absorb element is probably better defensively, because you will take a lot of damage. You don't have a lot of avoidance. Alright guys, it wouldn't be a Negron Tech video without a spreadsheet. Again, the feedback's too good. Now, I'm going to start with the pure berserker. I do have an additional bonus build, not in depth because everybody already knows how to do it and does it. But this is going to be the pure berserker. This is the great axe wielding Karlach from hell. She's raging. She's heating up. She's using the soul coin. She has that fire aura, you know, that SSJ aura, you know, that Kaioken aura. It's awesome. So if you're going to go great axe, you might as well go crit, because in this section, why crit? Not only is it lore appropriate, but you see as the damage die with crit increases and doubles, you'll see that it actually scales better than just a greatsword. The greatsword is on average going to be more averages, like more on average, consistent in the middle, and the great axe are going to have the higher highs and lower lows. And you know, Karlach, you know, the unpredictability, the rage, the heat, it just makes too much sense for her, right? And obviously in all the artwork and stuff like that, she's an axe wielder, she's a barbarian, she's a berserker, right? So to start off in the abilities, you can go 17 strength, 12 dex, 16 con, and then from there you can do any distribution with these last three as you want. You know, you do not even need the 12. You don't even need the 12 dex if you don't want to. Now the thing about the dex, if you go to power green this, and you want to make this a late game build, and you get the armor of agility later, and you're going to use your elixirs, because this is elixir required later on, like late Act 2, early Act 3, throughout Act 3. And if you stock up early game, then you're going to be fine. But if not, you know, it's okay. But if you do go that route, you can completely neglect strength and just invest in dex so you get more AC. And at that point, you will be relatively tanky, which is actually very, very good. Now, the reason why I like doing this, you just see level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Very, very simple. The great thing about this game, early game, and I'll show you again the two weapons in Act 1 and Act 2, they can go with the great axes that are very, very good, is that this is the best early game martial. You get 3 attacks at level 5. I think at level 3 is when you actually get 2 attacks a turn. When you get to level 4, you actually do get 3 attacks because now you get Great Weapon Master. And as a pure berserker, what do you get? You get advantage on all your attacks. So this is, you know, getting Karlach early, getting to level 3, getting to level 4. She's such a good character because she generates her own advantage. All of a sudden, that Great Weapon Master feat is not a liability to land hits. Now you're just an absolute killing machine. This is how I played my first playthrough, and it was so nice. But again, you don't have a lot of choices, right? I'm not going to talk about the other subclasses because I think even though they don't default Berserker for Karlach, I still think it's the most lore appropriate build. You use the soul coin, you do massive critical damage, you have all these attacks, you're mobile, you know, you're not super armored, you're like running around the battlefield, you're just absolutely annihilating people, right? So throughout that, the only big decision when it comes to this build is once you get to level 5. You get your extra attack, now you have your 3 attacks a turn, maybe 4 with Great Weapon Master if you already rage as a bonus action. Just remember, if you want to use that Great Weapon Master immediately and you haven't raged on turn 1, then, you know, the rage is, the frenzy, as I say, is actually a bonus action. So you have to weigh that turn 1, like, should I just rage right here? Or should I just use the Great Weapon Master bonus action? So that's something to think about. But once you hit the level 5 Barb, you can go 3 levels into Fighter immediately. Is by the time you get to level 8, you will most likely be in Act 2. You will most likely be or have done some of the Shar Temple stuff where you'll get the helmet that reduces your critical range when obscured. So now when you go champ, you're at 19. Now you go to 18. And I'll show you the advantage because as a barbarian, you're always going to have advantage. You're going to have almost a 1 in 3, you know, almost 6% below a 1 in 3 crit chance with advantage, which is still very, very, very good, guys. You know, later in the game, this gets pretty damn low with all the reduced critical ranges. It's very, very good. But if you don't like the pure RNG, Battle Master works very, very good, especially early on in the game because that flat damage die is excellent. And plus, all the utility, right? So once you get to level 5, you can immediately go those 3 levels into Fighter. Or if you want, you can just go 8 levels into Barbarian if you want to rush that second feat. As a Great Axe build, Savage Attacker has much, much more value as the damage die roll is larger. So with the 2d6, you have a lower high end, right? 2 die 6 versus the 1d12 where you have a higher high end. And pretty much the way you got to think about it is that, like, again, I talked about great axes are the medium, like the more averagey. I'm sorry, great swords are the more medium. Great axes are on the higher and the lower. You're going to have more ups and downs, right? Savage Attacker and great weapon fighting helps average that out a little bit more. Because if you do get that unfortunate little roll on that 1d12, the great axe, guess what? Now you get to re-roll it and you take the higher number. So now that really offsets. But of course, that's going to have more value when the damage die is a higher range compared to the greatsword. Something to think about. So I did add a whole bunch of math, give you guys a bunch of reasoning, see why. And, you know, the big thing about this build that is unfortunate is only 2 feats. That's why you pretty much have to go some type of elixir or strength buff. Late game, you can get the gloves, but I don't like using the gloves because the damage die on gloves is just much, much more valuable for a crit build than your more traditional martial build. And you'll see the damage potential in some of the clips that I showed you in that fight. I'll try to cut back and forth, but it's so... Now, for the bonus build, it's not really a bonus build. Everybody really talks about this. It's not too complicated. Any combination of Barbarian Monk using Tavern Brawler at a 3-level dip, yeah, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be stronger than this. Right, but again, I like to specialize in the lore appropriate builds. builds that get you really immersed in the game. And to me, using that soul coin, getting all that fire damage on hit, early game dip your weapon, and alchemist fire or like torches, braziers, stuff like that. It just like it gets me more engrossed and more excited to play the game because it's like, wow, like damn, like this is Karlach from hell, and like she's like the flame imbued being, like she's using that soul coin, she's like getting more powerful, she's like berserky, she's got that SSJ going, and it's like, damn, that's like awesome, right? Instead of just, you know, having, and I did use her as a monk a little bit, her and Astarion played around, but as a great axe wielding tiefling from hell, it just, you know, she was a terror in the blood war. Like, it's hard for me to really imagine her just being in hell with a fist when I know, like, hey, she's using a great axe, right? She's a barbarian. So that's why I like doing this. Again, hopefully not too complicated of a build. It's very, very easy. You go in there, smash some utilities or the soul coin. You use your elixirs. Remember to dip your weapon early in Act 1 and Act 2 so you get additional fire damage. Use a armor that's going to give you additional damage dies if you go pure crit. And one last thing, again, brutal crit at level 9. You're going to go 9 barb, 3 fighter. That's the late game build. And you can do the 3 level dip in the fighter earlier if you so please. But the brutal crit, the math is all over here. Everything is pretty much self-explanatory. If you guys have any questions, just go into the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize for not bringing you more builds. This is my first day off, so now I'm trying to like catch up on everything I missed out, especially because work was hell this week. So that's pretty much it. No pun intended. Mostly with Negron Tech. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a good one.